So usually when I drive down to the Bay, the usual suspects like Google and Apple and Tesla, we've been seeing them in the distance when we go down to the Bay or what have you. But there is this company, it's called Oklo, and it's doing something different, pretty futuristic. That even Sam Altman recently backed them, and they had an influx of about $300 million. So let's take a look at the stock, see what's going on, and what we could expect in the near term. So just back in August 2024, they were at $5 a share, and we saw them get up here to about $60 before selling down to 18 and then back up to 60 once again. So very, very volatile, a lot of institutional interest. You can see some of these levels. You got maybe this trend happening here where it's like it almost looks like it could sell. It's starting to sell back down, and it's possible that that sell down takes place all the way down to $30 or something like that. Um, but on the other hand, there's some reasons why the stock's getting attention, why it's starting to push up into these levels. And so when we look at, what could be next for it, yeah, it does look overextended. It's starting to sell back down. So there could be a lot of risk, obviously. That's why we want to have some caution. But when it comes to why they are one we're focusing on, you take a look at it, they're kind of interesting because their market cap is at like $8 billion, and then their revenue and their net income is like negative or just zero. Yet we see total assets increase in 2024 to $281 million. So before that, before 2024, they were just sitting on maybe like 10 to 15 million, but in 2024, it jumped to almost $300 million. And so what's the reason why? If you look at their cash flow, it's just all basically negative, negative by about a million, and then boom, 87 million in net in cash. And so the reason why is you can see them mentioned with a lot of similar tech companies that are not, I guess they're not similar, they're not nuclear, but they're similar to like Nvidia. You got Super Microcomputer, you have them mentioned even in AI. And the reason why is because of what's been going on with some of their backing. So when we look at it, they have a balance sheet that's been boosted from that SPAC Alt C. So that was an injection of 300 million from Sam Altman. Then you had the quarterly assets just surging, which really drove the price up recently. And then when we look at some of, let's go directly to their site and see what we can find here. Kind of what's been driving them. They have this big construction in Idaho, okay, and it's their first, or not their first, but it's called their Aurora fast reactor. And that was some news that came out that surged the stock about 30%. And you can see some things like this where you got CNBC, or they're kind of sharing, that people are talking about them. But when you go into their energy, you see what they're really all about. They have, let's see if it loads up here. They're saying clean energy, reliable, it's affordable, and zero emissions, resilience, small footprint, and safe, and fuel recycling. And those are the types of things that you would expect us to be going in the direction of with more energy usage for data centers. So you can see they specifically focus on data centers, factories, industrial sites, communities, defense facilities, and Oklo offers heat and power through purchase agreements. And you can kind of see what it looks like here. So they increased this design to handle up to 75 megawatts from the original 50 megawatts. And that's because they want to meet more data center power needs. And they have this partnership with R Power focused on getting these reactors online as soon as possible. And they have a lot of people that are already planning to purchase, and companies already planning to purchase the power that's about to be developed as a result of this. So there's also a lot of tailwinds from US policy because a lot of the US policy, or all policy, even from the smaller states, like most of it is geared towards um, the expectation that AI will use more power. Now, it's not necessarily always the case because the computers become more efficient, but if we're using more power, then a lot of the states are working towards things like, for example, nuclear or hydroelectric. But you also have the pre-revenue aspect of this company. So while they're in a market that's growing, they're most likely going to see more investments and more, um, like they're in the type of industry that would continue to grow right now because optimizing for easier energy for less is going to be a big deal. And you can kind of see where they're at. Headquarters in Santa Clara, about an hour and a half away, and then Idaho Falls, and then they have over here in Michigan, and then they have Washington and Brooklyn. The U.S. Regulatory Commission for Nuclear, and there's these pathways that they have to go through in order to get it to happen. So they have like early site permits, yes, but then they have design certifications or even the construction permits, and those don't always get issued very often. So what does that mean? That means that if the company is still showing, for example, they're showing it and it's like a 3D render and it's not actually built, it's a good initiative, but it also means they got funding, but they're still seeing zero revenue. So it could be really good for the long term potentially if they continue to leverage those tailwinds. Maybe they get some major tech giants. Definitely, if they're backed by Sam Altman. Microsoft could be one. You could see Meta or Amazon that are seeking the reliable power for the AI workloads. And Oklo is uniquely positioned with some offtake deals and tailored reactor sizes for some data center campuses. So we'll have to see how it plays out into this. Apparently, they have the cash burn to keep running until about 2028, and they're pre-revenue. So with that being said, being a pre-revenue company, most likely we're not going to see them just surge straight up forever. They've made a run that has recently taken them from this $5 price point up into $60, which is over 950%. So they look a little bit overextended right now, and I think it can make sense that they sell back down, and it would be healthy to see them into this slower and steady trend that could develop. So with that being said, we'll look for that potential sell down to continue. We're not saying it's going to go straight up or anything like that because they're free revenue and they're still having licensing hurdles that we want to watch them, because it could also be a stock rally if it's getting executed and that progress for the design expansion, and then they start to see their construction take place, they got favorable policy or what have you, then yeah, it could be a really, really good company to watch in the near term. So when it comes to Oklo, we'll be keeping you guys updated on it. It's still holding above that 200-day moving average, and it's above that EMA right now. So potential continuation of bullish trend, but most likely I would expect it to sell down a little bit more here before potentially keeping that upward direction. So we'll be watching it and potentially trading it at market open. You can surround yourself with other traders and investors. And there's a huge sale for Stockmates. If you want to join us tomorrow morning at market open, it's the second link in the description, and you can join us there as soon as tomorrow. Thanks so much for watching. I appreciate you all. If you enjoyed, hit that like button. If I earned it, do consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care.